So let's fast forward from the closing. You got the closing, you moved in, you went in, you introduced yourself to the tenants, which I think you had even done before you bought the place, to make sure that everyone was, someone that you'd be wanting to work with. So talk about from when you bought the place until now. What's the journey been like? I know you talked about property management. At what point did you bring them in? What was the first 3 to 6 months? Have you had problems with people making payments? Especially with COVID, have you had some of these tenants not pay you? How have you handled that? Just give us like a zoom from then all the way up until now, challenges, best practices, the good, the bad.
So yeah, whenever you guys buy a property, and I look at properties all the time, like I looked at it probably, I had to be thousands before I found this property, right? And this property wasn't on Zillow or anything like that. Not that you cannot find one on Zillow, you can. My whole point of that, and that's one thing I've learned, look at thousands before you're going to buy one. So I'm looking at them. I already know what I want to buy next, right? And I'm trying to put everything in, show the right income. But when I first was in there, I knew that the basement had some dirt in it, and I was going to have to get it ready. I knew the furnaces were bad, right? So that was my biggest thing, was I was going to take the cash flow as soon as I could, and I was going to get 2 furnaces as soon as I could, because I didn't want to go a winter without it, and then just didn't know where we were going to be. And I knew I was going to be quitting the teaching job now that I secured this, and I was going to go into a sales vehicle working for a contractor named JC Tenati, who's also another one of my mentors. And this is one thing I do want to say. You get to pick who you want to on life. Like me and Rob, I picked him up. I realized right then, I want this guy up with me. And he did stuff that I didn't even think was possible during the close. Like, he was a very seasoned guy. And even Josh Brown, like, people are like, man, you got to really go. I knew this guy can negotiate and everything. So I knew, like, if I need him, he'll be there. And everybody's like, oh, you don't have to pay him. It was unlisted, this, that. The guy, here's the thing. I'm going to make a lot of money in my lifetime, right? It's more what's the point? You don't want to have green piece of paper. It's who you share it with, right? And there's people that help me around. Like, you mentored and coached me so much through this. Josh Brown as well. I knew he was the right person, that if it came in, he could smooth talk something. He did. So it was like all stuff that I saw was all coming to fruition. And then he pointed out things when we did the home inspection. So that whole first year was just fixing those items, taking care of that house, not waiting.
And he used that as leverage for negotiating. That's really the main reason why he was able to get all this money, because he's like, look, Marilyn, we got to fix the furnace. We got to fix this thing in the basement. We got to fix that. Well, no, don't lower the price. We'll give you the price we agreed on, but we want money towards closing, which was the home run for you, because that's where you were lacking, is you didn't have all the money to buy a $280,000 to $300,000 house, 3.5% down, closing costs, escrows, taxes, insurance. It's a big chunk of money, especially for a brand new, young 30-something that's working multiple jobs just to make ends meet. So Josh used that as leverage, and that was huge. So once you got into the property, the first year you got all that stuff fixed. Now the property value's gone up. Now you don't have to worry about that stuff because it was done right, because you did it. You didn't have to worry about someone else doing it. So talk to me about the tenants. What's your relationship been with them? Have they not paid? Have you had issues? How have you handled it?
So I'll tell the one story. So there's one crazy story. I probably shouldn't say it, but just I want everybody. So when I first got it, all my aunt, uncle, dad, there's going to be termites, there's going to be tenants, you're going to call you at the night, everything. You want people calling you. People calling you with problems mean you have someone renters paying you money, man. No matter what it is, you want that. So anytime I got those calls, I thought, man, I got somebody in there. When they're not calling you, that's when it's bad. All right. So that's the clear. The worst probably story was one of the girls had a boyfriend. They got into a fight. The cops got called, the whole thing. She didn't have enough self-worth about herself. Her name was Ashley. I coached her outside. I told her, hey, go back to your mom, get this right. And I started coaching her right then. Her other tenant, young girl, Sarah, during COVID, lost her job because she was a hairstylist. I started sending her my YouTube videos. She started making more money while she was still there. So she was able to pay the rent. She made more money than she was able to move out and do that. And I'm like, man, I got to rethink this. You can't coach your tenants to make more money, because then they're gonna outgrow you, So you got to be kind of careful. But it's fine. I'll help anybody with that. But yeah, there was a very sturdy point, and I loved all my tenants. They were all great. Listen, are there problems? In life is problems, man. No matter what, you just got to learn how to solve them, man. Don't focus on problems, focus on solving them. So yeah, but it wasn't anything crazy. The house was a really good house. A couple furnaces, a little asbestos. Oh, they didn't show me, all that little stuff. But then you just deal with it, And but yeah, but fast forward to COVID. But yeah, the first year was pretty smooth, actually. The first year was great. It was cash flow and it was really good. And that's when I did a lot of stuff myself as much as I could. I actually got some buddies helping me. I'm not really handy. So I sold my vision of my buddies. Hey, I got this unit, come help me, right? And they did. I'd pay some of them. And then I learned stuff of what it was, what stuff cost. So that way, when COVID hit, that's when I was the first time when I didn't think anybody was going to pay. Everybody was losing their jobs. It was really everything. The window business for JC Tenati that I worked on canceled all their sales. I had no sales appointments. I had no money coming in, Rob. Like literally, I felt like I was going to go to zero. I felt foreclosure on the house, this, that. Okay. But I have the confidence in myself that I could always just earn it back, right? I'm like one of those entrepreneurs. If I go bankrupt, I'll be back, you know? Because it just takes courage. That's all it takes, man, is courage. And if you know how to actually solve a problem and do everything. So that's when I wound up building a coaching business. I wound up making $2,500 that first week of COVID, helping people make money in that first week. So I made my mortgage payment in a week. And then I thought, man, I'm onto something. So I built up the name Changing Lives, which was actually a name from my tenant. And then my brother, and it's funny because one of the interviews people could hear, Bank on Yourself, with I think it was Sammy Banks or whatever that you did. I called you. This is another reason why I call up Rob. And I've called up Rob a few times about like advice. I said, hey, my younger brother, so I coach a lot of people to make six figures, right around me. It's really a gift doing everything. And my younger brother, Josh Lewis, great kid, really smart, red. I told him, Josh, pick another vehicle. So he picked the financial vehicle of finances. Ed Milet, who's friend with Grant Cardone, was doing his whole thing, breaking away from everything, got into this whole deal. And I remember thinking, okay, now I was a big Dave Ramsey guy, right? So I was a very big term invest the guy, invest later, right? But then I saw the strength of the Bank on Yourself policies. And it was really you and listening to that podcast that made me a believer. And then when I did it and I started running the illustrations of the numbers, I realized, oh, I'm going to buy another real estate investment just using this as a vehicle. So a great way for an entrepreneur like myself who wants to be so risky and still hard to really just build up some value that can be treated down as a payment and then borrow against it. And it's a retirement benefit, which, so if all my dreams and I don't get it, then at least I have a nice retirement benefit anyway. Yeah. So it was a brainer. So now I've launched Changing Lives Financial with my brother. You go to changinglivesfinancial.com and that business has been just taking off. And I've really been, I actually got to jump on a training later on tonight to help him build that firm up. So that's just been amazing, you know?
So I think the important lesson to learn from what you just said is, number one, on the Bank on Yourself, if anyone's listening and you don't know what a Bank on Yourself policy is, you don't know what we're talking about, it's a specially structured life insurance policy that will allow you to basically become your own bank. It's very controversial. It's not for everyone. Without a doubt, there's good and bad about it. I've been doing it for over a decade myself. I did record a podcast with another guest who specializes in that. So if you're interested, you can go back and listen to that Bank on Yourself podcast to learn more about it. There's a lot of information on the internet. But what that resonated with me, Jeff, is that, there's going to be problems like you said. And when you have a war chest of money and financing available, be it a savings account, an insurance policy, a line of credit, something, it allows you to handle those problems a lot easier. So when COVID hit, yeah, you're lucky enough you can go make $2,500 in a week. Well, some people may not have that ability, but if you have money in the bank, if you have money in a life insurance cash value policy, if you have money in these other vehicles, it will allow you to also weather those storms and find solutions. So, I mean, that was a huge thing. And then, COVID, it's here. We're dealing with it. A lot of people are making their payments. I know a lot of mortgage servicers did put on the forbearance programs. I've done a podcast about that. It sounds like you took advantage of that because you didn't want to make your mortgage payment. You had some cash flow issues. Is that right? You did do a forbearance plan?
So I did do that. And then I realized, you know this too, I did it right away because I panicked, right? Everybody was panicking the whole thing. People buying toilet paper. We know the whole deal, right? But I panicked and I just applied for it just in case, right? Which I did. That's why it's there. But you got to pay it all back later. And then me being an entrepreneur, this is risky, thinking, oh, I can take all this extra money, invest in the stock market and buy stocks, which is really just risky. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be done. It doesn't pan out. Then you got this whole payment. But I was just trying to think of creative ways to make money, how I do it. But I applied for it. Then I realized if you want to go and buy another deal, you're almost on probation from buying a deal. How long, you would know this, how long is the probation of it? Like I went off it now that I have all tenants in there again.
Depending on the loan program, if you pay it all back immediately, then you can get a mortgage very quickly after, which I've had several clients like you, they applied for it, but they never used it. They had it as a backstop, but they kept making their mortgage payment. If that
that's
was
what I did. I didn't use it once.
Go ahead and get a new mortgage right away. The people that actually took advantage of it, and I say use that word take advantage very loosely, but the ones that didn't make their payments for a while, and then you get back on track, depending on the loan program, it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And if you're looking to do a cash out refinance, it could be as much as 12 months that you are on probation, like you said. It just depends on how it reports on your credit. Everyone's situation is different. It depends on what type of mortgage you're applying for. Conventional, FHA, USDA, VA, all that. They all have very similar guidelines, but a little bit different. So you want to check with your mortgage loan officer on that. If you've had a forbearance, put it out there right up front. Again, a lot of it depends on the credit reporting and how it looks on your credit, if it shows that you're in forbearance or not, but figure at least 3 months. If you didn't get it caught up, figure at least 3 months after the forbearance is over. But I'm glad we're touching on that, because I talked about that in the beginning of the pandemic, and how forbearance, can be something that may have repercussions. And now we're here, 6-8 months later, and we're talking about the repercussions that people are seeing every day. I have people applying for mortgages all the time right now that had forbearance. Guys making multiple 6 figures that have no business being in forbearance, but they did because they thought it was a free ride. They looked at the advertisement, they saw the notice from their mortgage holder and said, oh, I don't have to make a payment for a couple months. That's great. Well, now they are foregoing getting a mortgage at 3% or 2.5%. And they can't even get that now because they did this forbearance. And again, multiple 6-figure earners, tons of equity in their home, excellent 700 plus credit scores, and they are begging to get a mortgage, and they can't get it because they just finished their forbearance last month, or they never paid the money back. And it's just, there's all these repercussions that we can't really even get into now, but you can listen to on my other podcast about forbearance and do research on that.